Worrying developments there out of Burundi. Let's get you some perspective on that. I'm joined live from our Nairobi studios by Dr. Adams Oloo of the East African Institute of Development Studies. Dr. Oloo, always a pleasure to have you with us. Let's start with Pierre Nkurunziza. Do you think the Burundian president is in danger, and do you think other top officials could be targets?
Well, at least from what has happened, basically that was a message that was being sent that those who are opposing his third term are not going to relent, and that they will go the full hog, whatever it takes, to try and get him to back down or force him to the negotiation table. So basically, I think that's the message that was being sent.
So there's been so much condemnation and anger over the president's successful bid for a third term in office, and so much violence in the country. In your opinion, do you expect more violence in Burundi in the coming weeks and months?
It looks so. It looks so because both sides are digging in deep. The president Nkurunziza, against some advice and condemnation from the international community, did choose to go ahead with the elections. And we all know that most of the observers did return the verdict that the elections were not free and fair due to intimidation, rigging, and so on. And now you see the opposition also digging in. They had always said that he shouldn't run for office. And it looks like, despite the fact that he was declared elected, they are not giving up the fight to try and bring him down. So I think that both sides are digging in, and given the history of the country in which civil strife has been order of the day before, we shouldn't expect things to calm down soon. And given the fact that African Union and the East African community really take a very proactive stance in terms of bringing down skirmishes or calming down the situation, then I think Burundi is facing a hard time ahead.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that, Dr. Oloo, because you did mention, of course, the condemnation from the region, the lack of action from the AU, which, by the way, was among other several regional leaders and the international powers to condemn Nkurunziza's re-election. So what can the AU do now to put pressure on the Burundian leader, and why hasn't it acted sooner?
Well, I think that first, I think the AU has always been slow to respond to most of the crises in Africa. If one was to look at recently where there was civil strife in Kenya after the post-election violence in 2007, 2008, in Zimbabwe, in Ivory Coast, in Egypt, then I think that one can say that the record of the AU has not been very worth talking about, and therefore one shouldn't expect any miracle in Burundi. One also has to look at it from the perspective that it should take some kind of soul searching from President Nkurunziza. I think that the least that he can do is to invite those who are opposing his third term to the negotiation table, although it's not the best way to usually resolve a crisis. But I think that under such circumstances, given the experience in Kenya and Zimbabwe, at times power sharing does bring some mode of modicum or peace as people look forward to a more long-term solution. I think we are seeing the same situation in South Sudan, where Salva Kiir and Riek Machar are again going at each other, and it is the UN that has come out to say that they shall be slapping international sanctions and so on. And we hear very little from the AU or even the East African community for that matter. So I think that here is a situation again where unless the international community comes in, then the violence could spiral out of hand.
All right, Dr. Adams Oloo here in Nairobi. Many thanks for joining us.